Today I'm going to talk about the FJ Cruiser, and I'm going to answer the question, what went wrong with them? And the hilarious thing is, nothing went wrong with them. So why aren't they making them? Well, there's all kinds of forces involved in that, but hilariously enough, now they're making a comeback and they're starting to become collector's items. Now this guy got one sweet deal. He just bought this from a place that didn't understand them. It's only got 75,000 miles and he got it for $16,900. Now if you notice, there is not a ding on this thing. It's in immaculate shape. It's even got the luggage rack on it. Check out the interior. It's immaculate. It's four-wheel drive because it's got the transfer case right here. You can put it in whatever system you want, including blocking the rear differential, doing all track. They've got a great six-cylinder Toyota engine, a totally reliable automatic transmission. So why the heck did they stop making them? Well, it was all market forces. They call it an SUV. FJ stands for the engine, which is an F-Series engine, but J stands for Jeep. So they made it more like their idea of a modern Jeep. And Toyota themselves didn't actually make it. They made it through their subsidiary, Hino, which is a company that makes trucks and buses and stuff. Of course, they use Toyota engines and transmissions and everything in them. But they got killed by market forces. For the price they were asking for what they were, people that wanted that particular configuration at that time. Now, of course, the EPA had something to do with this demise because they're tremendous gas hogs because they are GP vehicles. All GP vehicles get crappy gas mileage. They're high up in the air, so they're not aerodynamic. They have big old tires, which is more friction. But mainly, they weigh a lot. This particular one weighs about 4,500 pounds. So you can't get good gas mileage in this configuration. Most people in town will get 14, 15 miles a gallon on this, and they're lucky if they get 19 on a highway. Now, you could compare that to one of the most popular vehicles they make, the Toyota RAV4. It weighs about 1,000 pounds less, and it gets much better gas mileage. It gets practically twice the gas mileage on the highway. So, everybody's worried about that, and Toyota just decided, well, we're not going to make them anymore. And with their interesting retro style, they're starting to become uber collector's items. Because everybody knows they can run forever. I had a customer in Houston that had 350,000 miles on it. This thing's got 75,000 miles. It's got a long way to go. Odds are you're not going to find one with 75,000 miles on it, but you never know. Because a lot of guys buy these things, and as they look like giant toys, they treat them like giant toys, and they don't drive them all that much. This guy doesn't drive his much either, because he's got a Toyota Sequoia with 305,000 miles on it that he uses for his everyday driver. This is his toy. He got one heck of a deal. It's the loaded version. It's got everything on it. The four-wheel drive system. And under the hood, look, it's got class. It's got hydraulics. You don't have that stupid little stick. And it has the variable valve timing V6 engine that Toyota makes. That run forever. And since it's an 07, you don't have to mess with no stinking timing belt. It's got a timing chain. Those things can last forever. And it doesn't have one of those crappy plastic canister oil filters either. Instead, it has a very easy to access oil filter on the top. And the cool thing about this is, when you change your oil, do it first thing in the morning. And you know what's first thing in the morning? This thing's empty of oil. So when you take it off, does it go bloop bloop all over the place, make a mess in your driveway, get on the engine and stink? No. That's why you want to change these things first thing in the morning. It all drains down. You don't have to worry about making a mess. It's got ABS system, of course. You know, it's a modern Toyota. Air conditioning that works perfectly fine. And what I like, it's got the old hydraulic power steering. One, they last forever. Two, Toyota has great engineers, so you get a great feel while you're driving. Don't like electronic power steering assist. A lot of times it feels unnatural, but man, when those things break, wait till you price what it costs to put a motor and reprogram the car to put it on. It costs a small fortune. So what if you lose half a mile a gallon? You know, they're gas hogs anyways, so who really cares? You're not saving that much on a big truck putting electric power steering in. It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, the reason most people do it is because it's cheaper to do. It's an easier production thing to do, and everything can be controlled by computers, which is what they want. So let's go in and see if it starts. Like, that's a real shocker. It's a Toyota. Solid door. It's purring away. And being an '07, it's old school. It's got CDs and they still work. There's a Toyota engine purring away. You'll always hear that tiny bit of noise. That's just the noise that normal cams make when they're 16, 15 years old. It's not shaking, it's running fine. I like these black wheels with the covers. They're nice looking, and this thing spent its whole life in Rhode Island. I personally, though, would clean it all off and coat it all over so it doesn't rust anymore. Because even though these don't have frame rot problems like some of the Tacomas had, you still want to make it last. I would brush off all the rust. I'd recoat the whole thing. No shake, smooth. It's a Toyota. Sure, it's old, doesn't have a backup camera. Cool steering wheel. I got it locked to lock. Does the four-wheel drive system make a sound? No. This isn't Ford or GM. This is a Toyota. They're well made. And it's high enough you feel king of the world, but not too high like you feel you're gonna topple over. And here we go on the Rhode Island torture test to see how the shock system works. And it's a tall vehicle. It's gonna bounce around a little bit, but you feel totally in control. My rear end has no problems at all. It gets rid of the bumps pretty good. It feels pretty smooth. You're not jarred. You're always gonna get somewhat of a bumpy ride when you're driving out. Big old four-wheel drive Jeepy type vehicle, but this is about as good as a ride you're gonna get in one. And of course, these things are perfect for cruising along the seashore. And if they let you drive in the sand, you can have even more fun with a four-wheel drive. And there it is, the real mileage. This thing isn't even broken in yet. So let's see what this 15-year-old FJ Cruiser can do. We'll just go at a smooth idle. It throws you back in your seat a little. Shifts like a dream, plenty of power. Just be sure to have plenty of money for gasoline. And it really corners on a dime. No problem with these. Toyota knows how to make suspension for them. They've been making these type of vehicles for ages. This was just one that failed economically, but not mechanically. Sure, Toyota made Land Cruisers for a really long time, and they started out smallish, even smaller than this, and got bigger. But Toyota learns a lot when they manufacture stuff. Their whole thing is perfecting it over time. And I gotta say, the name fits, FJ Cruiser. This thing is perfect for cruising along. You feel like you could cruise forever. And when you look around inside, basically, it's like a Honda Element on steroids. And you really got a great view of these giant side view mirrors. They're not toys. I gotta say, Toyota's subsidiary, Hino Motors, they know how to make trucks. They've been making trucks and buses since, like, 1947 or something, right after World War II. So if you want something that's fun, fast, that can last forever, but don't care about gas mileage, FJ Cruiser's for you. I doubt if they'll ever bring it back with gas mileage restrictions and stuff. Truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it back as some type of electrified vehicle. Toyota Land Cruiser. Now, they stopped selling in the United States for 2021, and we'll get into why. But first, we'll get into a little history of these things. Now, if you look at this thing, you wouldn't even recognize the original 1951, because it turns out that in 1941, the Japanese Army captured a Willys Jeep. They took it back to Japan, and they reverse engineered. In other words, they copied it. Take a look at it. I mean, they look like Jeeps. They were Jeeps. And the early, bigger Land Cruisers, they had a 6-cylinder engine in them that had pretty much interchangeable parts from a Chevrolet straight-six engine that they copied it from. They make them better and better and better as time goes on. So you might say, oh, Scotty, then why don't they sell them anymore in the United States? Well, they still sell them in the rest of the world, but it's a big V8 engine and it gets low gas mileage. You can get anywhere between 14.8 and 15.8 miles a gallon, depending if it's on a highway or city. And you might think, well, that's horrible. What's a big all-wheel drive vehicle? It weighs a lot, it's huge, and it's got this big powerful V8 engine. Now, you might think that's bad, but I had a customer in Houston and he had an old one, and it had the big old straight 6-cylinder engine with giant coffee-sized pistons inside it, a carburetor, and a 3-speed standard tranny. He got single digits. Sometimes he'd get 6, sometimes he might get 8 miles a gallon. Those were tremendous gas hogs. When you consider the weight of this thing and the speed that it has, that's the best gas mileage it's going to get. They stopped selling in the United States. 2021 was the last ones I ever saw, because it lowers the CAFE gas mileage rating. So the Americans penalize companies that have gas hog cars. And Toyota didn't want to make their whole fleet get lower gas mileage ratings, so they don't sell them in the United States. Like I say, they sell them lots of other places. People are nuts about these vehicles. If you're thinking about buying one in the United States, my advice is do it fast, because if you don't, the price is going to go even sky higher. This thing's got 160,000 miles, and he paid 28 grand drive out. These things have high resale values, but as you can see, low gas mileage. This is 16.3 combined city highway. Shows you all the trips people have taken. You got all your tire pressure. You can have the gas mileage while you're driving if you want. It's not running now, so it's not going to say anything. Since it refueled last time, it's getting 16.3 miles per gallon. Just realized you get one of these things, it's cavernous inside. There is a lot of space in these things. It's a gigantic armrest. The thing is huge. Now this is a 2009, so it's old school. But if you want a big, stable vehicle that's safe for your family, you can't beat one of these things. And even though it's older, it's still got electronic controlled transmission. You can play with all kinds of things, hill climbing, you name it. And being a Toyota, you know it's going to be reliable. It's going to start up every time. And even though it's old, it's still got a backup camera on it. And as I said, cavernous room, you can see the dog's been resting here. There's a bunch of dog hair. There's all kinds of space back here. Look at that. Real seats. They have a reasonable amount of room in them. Fold them up. You got a lot of space. And of course, you got many different ways to open it. You can open it part way, you can open it the whole way. It is a well-designed vehicle. And when you combine the size and weight, and the fact that it's all-wheel drive, this thing is not going to get stuck in the snow. You're going to be able to go anywhere. Now, it's certainly gone a long way from the original copy of the Willys Jeep. It's still got a lot of roughness of the military vehicle, but it's got creature comforts well beyond anything that Willie would have dreamed up when he made the general purpose vehicle for the Army. And when the Japanese started to copy, because they thought their Army needed one of those too. And of course, being a later model one, we're not dealing with any of this timing belt crap. It's all timing chain. It's all metal. You don't have to think about it. You just do normal maintenance. And it's certainly solid built. Listen to the hood. That's a hood. That's not a piece of tin rattling. And has he had any problems with it? No. Starts right up. The original owner took it to the dealer all the time, had all the maintenance done. Really, even if you don't do that, mainly you just need to change the oil and filter every 5,000 miles or so. It'll probably run just the same. You want to talk about a smooth idle. There's no shaking in this baby in gear. Now, normally you got to worry about the bump at the end of my driveway, but this thing's so high up in the air, we're not even going to slow down for it. I mean, it flies over that with no problem at all. You are high up in the air. You feel safe and secure. You can just feel the heft of this vehicle as you drive it down the road. And yeah, the gas mileage stinks, but there's nothing you can do about that. With a vehicle this big and this heavy, with that big V8 engine and the all-wheel drive in the rain, we step on the gas, this baby picks them up and puts them down without any kind of drifting or slipping. This thing was basically a modified Willys Jeep on steroids. So, unlike the Willys Jeep that can only go, 45, 50 miles an hour, rattled like mad, this thing does it with creature comforts. I can go a heck of a lot faster than that. And look, I've been driving, so the gas mileage is already starting to drop. Now, when I was younger, the Chevy Suburban was the thing for people to have for carrying families going around. Believe me, this thing blows them away. These things can regularly go 500,000, 600,000 miles or more. You will never get that out of a modern Suburban. But these, unfortunately, they're not sold in the United States anymore because the gas mileage rating's too low, and Toyota does not want to lower their CAFE ratings in the United States. And yeah, if you're a purist, you're just mad about an automatic transmission, but they're very dependable. And really, in the United States, it's been a long time since they sold a standard transmission. They just didn't. Americans want automatics. It's very dependable. I've never yet to see one break. The all-wheel drive system by Toyota has been pretty much perfected. It's an excellent system. It's just, you gotta live with low gas mileage. As usual in luxury Toyotas, the quality's high. Leather seats, car's getting older, leather seats are still in immaculate shape. You can see as I drive it, the gas mileage drops. It's now under 16 into the 15s. Even though it's old, hey, the GPS system from Toyota still works pretty good. We're right by the ocean there. You can see the blue. Kind of basic because it's an old system, but it works fine. For a vehicle this size, it's got very responsive steering. And with all this weight, excellent brakes. ABS system works fine still. It's a Toyota. They don't break down much. Let me tell you, I feel safe in this thing, you know? You're not worried about somebody hitting you and, oh, what's going to happen to me? No. You have to worry about what's going to happen to the people if you hit anybody. And yes, as in all my favorite vehicles, there it is. Made in Japan. Now, the owner had one question. He thinks, oh, the brakes are kind of soft. Well, they're not really soft. That's how they're designed for this. He had an FJ Cruiser before this, and he got rid of that because having kids, he said the suicide doors really got in the way. And so he made money on it, so it didn't really matter. But kind of strange that it came from a Willys Jeep to evolve into this luxury vehicle, right? They're not made for cornering at 100 miles an hour. You could do it if you had to, if somebody's chasing you, I guess, but they're made for comfort, safety. The one thing that a lot of people are always asking me about is, hey, how many miles are too many miles on a used vehicle? Well, this has got a lot of miles. Doesn't mean squat. I've seen these things with 400,000 or 500,000 miles on them. So, even though he had to pay 28 grand, if he went out and sold it today, he'd probably get 34 or 35 because since they're not selling in the United States anymore, just because of the bad gas mileage ratings, there's plenty of people that don't care that much about gas mileage ratings, especially older people that want safety, or people with a family who want safety that perhaps don't even drive all that much. They don't care what the gas mileage is, so something like this, that's an immaterial thing when they buy it. But the shape that this thing is in, if you would have blindfolded me, I couldn't have told you what year the vehicle was if I was riding in it. It works perfectly fine. They are overbuilt machines, and there's nothing wrong with getting one with this kind of miles, especially where he bought it. It was from the original owner. It had one owner, and they took it to the dealer all the time to get it maintained. Some cars like Jags, Mercedes, BMWs, Audis, you really got to make sure it was maintained correctly. This is a Toyota product. Heck, you could buy one new, probably just change the oil the first 100,000 miles, and nothing would probably go wrong anyways. But it's a good idea to get some kind of records on how the car was taken care of, because you do need to know that the oil was changed. If you remember the Lexus that I did a few months ago in Tennessee, the guy unfortunately bought one for about 9 grand from a Toyota used car lot, and the engine was all worn out because they never changed the oil, the previous owners. And when I pulled those spark plugs off, saw how covered they were with burnt carbon, I said, get rid of this thing, change the oil, just get rid of it soon, because the engine's eventually going to wear out. You don't have to worry about the V8 engines. Even though they get bad gas mileage, they have a long lifespan, much better than their new idea that they're putting in the Tundras of V6 turbos, which they're already having problems with. This is a tried and true engine that can basically run forever. But if you want to get one of these, heed my warning, you better do it fast, because since they're not selling anymore, the prices are going to go up. Look what happened to their cruisers. They stopped making them. I've seen people pay more money for used ones than they want brand new. So if you want to get one of these, you better look around fast and find it before the prices get even higher. I doubt if they'll ever bring them back to the United States, but you have to worry about parts. They're still making them, selling over the rest of the world. You don't care about gas mileage. You want a big, giant family car to take you around, and really hardly anybody takes them off-road. They don't need standards anymore. And all-wheel drive, you'll never get stuck. Yeah, you're going to pay for the gas mileage, and you're going to pay for the vehicle if you get a good one, because they're not giving them away. But consider what new cars, the average new car in the United States these days, sheesh, it's like 25 grand more than he paid for this. So this will probably outlast most of the new ones. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.